Welcome to the brand new segment called NFL Recap. Each week we're going to be doing a new segment on, the NFL recap from that previous week. And now it's not going to be like each, and per game, because you guys already know who won and who lost. We're going to talk about the best players from the week at quarterback, running back, and wide receiver. The worst players in that position group, the best offensive rookie and the best defensive rookie, all that little fun stuff, the big injury updates. So I just wanted to do that real quick. Again, I think a nice little recap in about 5 to 6 minutes is pretty cool, at least in my opinion. So I think I'm going to try to test it out for my first week. So here we go. And now, in my personal opinion, these are the players that had the best week, at least according to me. So take it with a grain of salt, okay? Look at the stats, really. But anyway, starting off with the quarterback, in my personal opinion, Baker Mayfield was the best quarterback in the NFL. Now, he completely balled out against the Washington Commanders. 289 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks with a passing rating of 146. That is pretty damn good. Mike Evans had a really good game. I think Baker Mayfield just completely balled out against the Commanders. Moving on to the running back position, there was a couple of players that had really, really, really good games. But I have to give it to Saquon Barkley just because he had 3 total touchdowns, 24 attempts, 109 yards on the ground. Like, he had a little slow start. He also had a receiving touchdowns with 23 yards. 3 total touchdowns against a pretty good defense, in Brazil with the terrible field positions or the field conditions. I thought he had a really good game, so he was the best running back in my opinion. Staying in the same game, we got Jayden Reed as the best graded wide receiver or best wide receiver in the league. He had 138 receiving yards on 6 targets total, 1 touchdown receiving, 1 touchdown rushing with 33-yard rush. He was by far the best player in the NFL, at least in wide receiver group. Again, they're not saying everyone else did bad or whatever, but in my opinion, he was the best wide receiver in the NFL. Now, staying on the offensive side of the ball, now we're going to be talking about the worst players in these position groups. And for the quarterback, there was 2 players that I had a really hard time choosing, but I had to choose Bryce Young. I am sorry, Panthers fans. He just was absolutely butt cheeks. He had 13 completions out of 30 attempts, 43% completion percentage, 161 yards, 2 picks with a passing rating of 32.8. And he was on the road. He played against the Saints, but he was just absolutely dog cheeks. I'm sorry. Overthrows, underthrows, picks off. This whole Panther team was discombobulated, but Bryce Young, definitely the worst quarterback of the week. Moving on to the running back position, we got Zamir White as the worst running back in the league. He had 13 carries for 44 yards, which averaged about 3.4 yards. No touchdowns. He also had a fumble, and he lost that fumble recovery. So he had a turnover, 44 yards, no total touchdowns. Yeah, definitely the worst running back in the league. Well, just for this week, okay? No personal attacks or anything. Now, with the wide receivers, there was definitely a couple of players that had really stinky games, but at least in my opinion, coming off the hype, Marvin Harrison he was basically non-existent. He had 1 catch for 3 targets, 4 yards, of course, no touchdowns. He was on the field a lot too, so it's not like he was barely even playing, but no targets. He couldn't get open. Now, granted, Kyler Murray kind of affected that a little bit, but still a really bad game. Of course, rookie, slow, relax, the horrible start, horrible player, whatever. Just he had a really disappointing week. Moving on to the best overall rookie on the offensive side. This is the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, whatever. The best overall rookie was definitely Xavier Worthy. He had 2 total touchdowns, 2 receptions, 47 yards. He also had a rushing touchdown with 21 yards. There's a couple of players on, rookies that had good games, but I thought that he was definitely the superior of the rookies. So Xavier Worthy wins my offensive player of the week. Rookie-wise. I'm sorry, guys. The best kicker. Yes, we're going to be talking about kickers every week because I think they're a crucial part of our game. Literally, Chris Boswell for the Steelers. Now, he has 6 field goals, 100% completion percentage, or not completion percentage, oh my goodness. But he had 3 field goals over 50 yards. He literally scored every single point for the Steelers. If it wasn't for him, they would be 0 points. So definitely we're going to be talking about kickers every week, and Chris Boswell definitely wins this week as the kicker of the week. Now, moving on to the defensive side of the ball, the best defensive line, this is including the edge rushers and interior D-line, is Greg Rousseau. I have no clue how to say his name. I'm so sorry for the Buffalo Bills. He had 3 solo tackles, 3 sacks, 1 forced fumble with an overall grade of 87.2, and that's pretty good. No missed tackles for him, so I thought he was definitely worthy of the best defensive line player of the NFL. The best linebacker, this includes the outside linebackers and the middle linebackers, is Logan Wilson from the Cincinnati Bengals. Even though the Bengals struggled, he definitely did not. He had a 92 overall grade. He had 6 total tackles, 1 forced fumble. He didn't have any sacks, but he also had no missed tackles. The passing rating allowed was 93.8, which I think he allowed 1 or 2 catches, which is okay. But really good run defense, again, that's why he earned this player of the week for the linebackers. And now the best player in the secondary, which includes the safeties and the cornerbacks. I had a couple of players that did really, really, really good, but I had to pick Jalen Johnson just because he had an interception. He had the pass deflection. He didn't miss any tackles. He had a few tackles. He only gave up 1 catch for -2 yards with a passer rating of a 2.8. So I thought he was definitely worthy of my best secondary player of the week. Now, moving on to the worst players in the league when it comes to these position groups. The defensive line, I got Kayvon Thibodeaux. I don't even know how to say his name either. I am so sorry. But the guy for the Giants, you see the stats on the screen. 38.9 overall grade. No tackles, no forced fumbles, no sacks. He had 1 total pressure, which he played the whole game too. And I don't know what the heck happened with him. The whole D-line for the Giants was basically non-existent. So yeah, definitely he was the worst player on the defensive line. The worst graded linebacker in the league this week was Patrick Queen for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had a 28.8 overall grade, 4 missed tackles with a passing rating of 118 on a few catches. He was just overall not good for the Steelers. The run defense was completely caca. So yeah, that really does suck for the Pittsburgh Steelers fan because he had so much hype with him and ended up being dookie. Just this week, okay? Just this week. Now, with the secondary, this was definitely one of the easiest ones to pick was Jordan Foyer for the Carolina Panthers. And again, this whole Carolina team was just god-awful. But he had a 28 overall grade, a passing rating of 158.3, which is perfect. He had, 1 missed tackle, only a couple tackles total, but he just gave up a whole bunch of yards. He was just completely toasted all over that field. And yeah, he was definitely the worst secondary player of the week. The best defensive rookie, at least in my opinion, was definitely Jared Verse. He had a 75.5 overall grade, a couple of tackles, no missed tackles. He had, 6 total pressures. I thought he did a really good job against the Detroit Lions with a really, really, really good offensive line. He got to the quarterback a lot. I think he was definitely the best defensive rookie of the year, or the rookie of the week, I'm sorry. The main injuries of the week, of course, Jordan Love is definitely one of the top ones. Now, when the initial injury happened, we thought it was going to be between 4 to 6 weeks out. Now he's really only projected to miss 3 to 4 games with that MCL sprain, which is significant news. David Njoku for the Browns had a high ankle sprain against the Cowboys. He's projected to miss like 1 to 2 weeks maybe. So basically week to week. Jake Ferguson, the tight end for the Dallas Cowboys, is basically week to week with another leg injury. So we don't know exactly what's going on with him yet, but as of right now, it's week to week. Puka Nacua for the Rams was just put on the IR, so he's going to be at least missing 4 games with the knee injury. That is a pretty significant blow for the Rams. Their best wide receiver, their best playmaker on that team. Marshawn Lattimore, the cornerback with the Saints, was ruled out of the second half of the game against the Panthers with a hamstring injury. He is also week to week. And now the last player to talk about is Derek Brown, the defensive lineman for the Panthers. He is going to be out for most likely the rest of the season with the meniscus care. So it is just not looking good. It's not looking good for a Panther fan at all. I am so sorry. But that wraps up this video. If you do like it, hit that like button. Let me know what you think of this NFL recap between 6 to 7 minutes long. So yeah, I really do like doing it. But I'm out of here. Deuces.